Great, let's get started. Just the tools that I'll be using here is an old side pusher, a 3mm pin punch, 2mm pin punch, some all-weather firearm grease. This is shooter's choice, but just use whichever one you want. And then a rubber nylon hammer. And lastly, just to show that you don't need the best tools in the world to work on your pistol, a scrap piece of wood that I use as an armorer's block. Great, let's get started. So I'm going to swap out the hammer spring first. We'll just show you how to remove the hammer spring, and then we can go from here. So we need to depress this plug. So on mine, there is no lanyard loop. Some come with a lanyard loop. If it does come with a lanyard loop, it makes life a bit easier because you can just push down on your frame and push it through. Since mine didn't, I need to use some form of a tool to push down. So I'm going to just bring in my scrap piece of wood, bring out my 2mm pin punch, sorry, trying to get this in camera and move a lot of things around is a bit hard. Let's go. Just push that down. Salt my thumb. Push the pin all the way through. So you see now the pin can come out and the pin punch is still holding it in place. Just keep your thumb there, pull the punch out. Don't let it go. Slowly take that out. There's the spring. So you can see the differences between my spring. Okay, this has obviously been shot a lot. The nickel coating is held up. It's slightly thinner and it's slightly shorter than the stock spring, which I'm uncertain of what coating it has on it. But you can just see the slight differences that are there. So now obviously to reinstall it, I've just got to do everything in reverse. So take the hammer. Your hammer strut is sitting loose in here. You can hear it moving there. Slide that back and then slide the spring in and over the hammer strut. Take your plug, put it over your spring, and then we're going to start to press it again. Just line it up because this pin is going to need to go all the way through here now and through the plug. So just make sure that the holes line up. So then push it down, push it down, push it down, push it through. There you go. You can see it's there, it's in. This plug is obviously held in from the spring pushing it down and the pin retaining it here. Quick, easy, quick change. There you go. You can see the hammer is working again, which is great. Once again, don't let your hammer smash into the polymer of your bare frame. Always have your slide on if the hammer's going to strike. Control your hammer. The next part we're going to do now is take out the firing pin retaining pin on the slide and take out all the other springs. So on your slide there are two different size holes. That's the small one, that's the big one. You hit the small one to take out, put back into the big one. So small out, big back in. So you're going to do that, take your 3mm pin punch, put it into the hole, all the way through, out. You can see the steel firing pin retaining pin. I would compare this to the stock one, but my stock one is poked. You can't go in and out. Once it's out, it's out. But it's also a known failure point. Once again, this has been through a lot of dry firing, a lot of shooting. You can see there's no deforming of the pin or anything like that. Just some of the coating goes off. This is a tempered steel with an iron oxide coating. Hold your firing pin down, take that out. It's no longer under tension. So now to take your firing pin out, you need to push down on your firing pin block here. push it, you can pull your firing pin out. There it goes. And now your firing pin block is loose. You can knock it out. So what I've done here, just to smooth the action a little bit, is taken 1000 grit sandpaper and I've just smoothed it out. You can see it's nice and shiny, but if you're going to make it nice and shiny, just make sure that there's grease on there to stop any rust or any worries like that. And then that is the firing block spring. As you can see, I've got some shooter's grease on here already. There's quite a lot of grease, I'm not going to add more. You put grease in here just to ease up some of the friction of it going in and out. And this is just to compare it to the old factory one. One's slightly broader, wire slightly thinner, better quality wire. So we just slide that back in. Might seem like a tight fit, just wiggle, 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 goes in grease, check the fit. Check the fit, depress it, there we go. Now to go to the firing pin, there's the firing pin spring, which is on the firing pin. So since I'm field stripping now, I'm going to check my firing pin for any deformities, any problems like that. You can see the head will just come right in. It's still solid. And just to give you an idea, this is where that retaining pin sits. It strikes like this. And then when this is inside the pistol, this sits on the side here. Hammer hits here. This goes up, it goes forward, goes there, locks. Trigger fires, push that up, hammer hits here, goes forward, down, locks. Once it locks, you see it can't go past the ridge here. And that's the safety mechanism of the firing block. Firing pin block. So to put everything back together, super simple, exactly the same way as we took it apart. We're going to put the firing pin block in here. So this side goes to the inside, the round here goes to the outside. Slot it in. There you go. Goes in, push. Take the firing pin. Put the firing pin spring on. Don't put any grease on your firing pin because all it will do is gather dust. And if it forms dust, it might get clogged up and stop it from striking. So just give it a wipe down, keep it clean. Let me just give mine a little wipe down, a little clean. Put the spring back on. There you go. So now when you're putting the firing pin back into the firearm, these grooves here needs to be in the 12 o'clock position. So it needs to face the top of the slide. So that goes in. Depress the firing block. Start to slot your firing pin in. Just push that in. There you go. So as you can see, the firing pin, the grooves are at the top there in the 12 o'clock position when I'm holding it there. The firing pin block is back in place over here. So now we're going to go from the big hole side, which is the side here. So when you're putting this pin back in, you're going to need to push the firing pin in. And push it in as far as your finger can go in order to free up the space for this pin to go back in. Your firing pin, retaining pin here, has got a groove. Once again, that groove needs to sit in the 12 o'clock position. Because when that firing pin strikes here on either side, you don't want it hitting the groove. You want it to be hitting the round bits. So depress the firing pin, 12 o'clock position for that groove, slot it in, Make sure the firing pin is depressed. Knock, 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 knock. Check that it's freely moving. Everything's good. Take your 3mm pin punch. Let's just put it on top. Check that you're equal on either side, which I am. Check the firing pin's moving in and out. That's great. Check that the firing pin block is working. Yes, it is. There you go. That is a quick and easy way of installing the kit or the trigger spring kit into your slide and into your frame.